On today's vlog, I'm going to be focusing on my 911, in particular the instrument cluster, so I'm going to do an upgrade on that. Later, I picked up a new model car, so I'm going to discuss what I got and the new arrangement on the JDM cars in my model car case. For today's vlog, I'm going to be working on my 911. On the last episode, I ended it with talking about how I'm going to take my M5 to the shop, but I'm going to switch things around a little bit because there was a change in schedule. So I'm going to fill in that void with some work on my 911. One of the things that I think is kind of dated on my 911 is my interior. A few episodes ago, I did some updates on my floor mats. So on today's vlog, I'm going to focus mainly on the instrument cluster. I've seen another DIY covering this upgrade, but I'm gonna do my version on this vlog and try to add more details. This is my factory instrument cluster. Although I do like the original black, I want to liven up the interior a little bit. So that's why I decided to go with an upgraded instrument cluster. The good thing about my setup is my steering wheel has a quick release. I could remove the steering wheel, and that gives me direct access to this panel right here, which is secured by 2 screws. And once I pull out that panel, I'll be able to remove my instrument cluster and start the work on it. The Porsche 997 is one of the most sought after 911s. Although it's the last analog 911, there are companies that have aftermarket support to give the car a modern touch. Some people get pretty creative, and there are a lot of examples out there where people are mixing up the colors, and there's one particular look that I'm going for. Now that I got the steering column dropped down, I was able to just pull this panel down. It's not going to be able to come all the way out, just enough room so that you can get access to the screw right here, which is a T20 Torx. And then there's another one down here. So I'm going to loosen them with my T20 screwdriver. And then I'm going to do this side as well. I'm not going to loosen it all the way because I am going to need my 2 hands. I am going to use this magnetic tool just to make sure that I can recover it in case it falls down. That way I don't lose a screw, because it is pretty tight down there. So I'm going to put the camera down, remove those 2 screws, and then I'll begin recording again the process of taking out the cluster. Now that I got the 2 screws that's holding down the instrument cluster, I should be able to tilt it down and pull out the instrument cluster. And then on the back, there is a harness that I could just unclip. So I'm going to move on to that part. It took me a good minute or 2 to find the right angle to maneuver the cluster out of the housing, but I was able to do it. So I'm going to zoom into the area where the harness is at and show you how to release it. I'm kind of using my steering wheel as a prop so I could hang my lighting, but the harness is right here. I'm going to zoom in so you can see it. There is a pin, let's see, down here that I need to flip up in order to release the harness so I can take it out. To be honest, it was a little bit tougher than I anticipated, but I was able to get it out. I'm going to show you the area where the 2 screws that are holding down the instrument cluster are located. Just a stress, you don't want to lose those screws. So here's the 2 screws holding down the cluster. So if you drop the screws, it'll be kind of tough to retrieve. I want to take some time out to talk about some of the tools and materials that you're going to need for this job. So I recently added this little desk in my garage, so I'm going to be utilizing it for today's project. I laid out some bubble wrap on my desk just to protect everything, especially the instrument cluster. And also I don't want to attract any dust, so I didn't use some towels like other DIYs you see online. This is the upgraded instrument cluster gauge face that I'm talking about. So I went with the blue and yellow combo. I think it will really complement my interior and bring out some life to my interior. Here is the oil temperature gauge face. And on the other side, this is for the oil pressure. It actually goes right here, but they put everything in one bag. So this is the setup I'm gonna go with. And then I have my instruments cluster here. And then the tools that I'll be using for this project, I definitely want to use some Big Tex gloves because I don't want to get into the oils of my hands in the cluster or in the gauge faces. And then I'm also going to make sure that I have my detail brush just in case there's any dust. And then I have my plastic prying tool, one of my picks. And then I have a T10 and a T20 Torx screwdriver and my magnetic tool. So these are the tools and supplies I'll be using for this project. This is the finished product. If you notice, I didn't go with the original plan to keep the matching blue gauge faces on the sides. I kept it right here. So if I decide later in the future I want to do the complete set, I could always go back and put these on. But for the most part, I want to kind of keep a 3-color theme here. So the sides are going to be the original OEM black ones. And then the set comes with one piece. So these 3 gauge faces is one piece. I think with this setup, I haven't seen it done before, and it fits well with my interior. It was a little bit more tougher than I anticipated. When I saw the DIY online, I could tell when they were filming it, they cut out a lot of things because I try to follow it step by step, and I came across a few setbacks. But for the most part, the slides that I included in this vlog will help anyone in the future if they plan on doing this facelift to their gauge cluster. But I think even though I had all those setbacks, it was well worth it. The procedures for upgrading my gauge faces on my instrument cluster is pretty straightforward. If you ever plan on doing this to your car, just be patient with the process and make sure you do everything properly. Now that I got everything buttoned up, it's time to go back into my 911 and reinstall the instrument cluster. Overall, I'm really happy with the way it turned out. My instruments cluster definitely has a little bit more life to it, and it gives it a little bit more of a modern touch, so it does change the driving experience. The off-topic discussion on today's vlog is going to be focusing on my model car collection. On episode 141, I talked a lot about the new cases that I got for my 118 scale cars, and since then I've been trying to focus more on my JDM collection of cars. I mentioned in that vlog that I started off collecting the 124 scale JDM cars, and I would say maybe the last 3 or 4 years I've been trying to focus on my exotic car collection. And now my exotic car collection is much more larger than the JDM car collection. So I'm going back to my roots and starting to look for some JDM cars. On that particular vlog, I mentioned 2 cars that I was going to be focusing on, and one of them is the A86 Hachiroku, and then the other one is the Hakusuko Skyline. But when I was shopping around for some cars, I came across one that I don't have in my collection. So I picked up one of these. I have a background in owning Z cars before with my 300ZX as well as my 350Z, and I'm missing a 400Z. So when I saw this on display, I immediately grabbed it because I thought about my car collection and how well this would fit in. I've come across other 400Zs when I'm shopping for model cars, but this in particular is something I haven't seen before. I'm gonna go a little bit closer, look at the detail on the wheels. It looks like they designed these cars with slicks. Out of all my model cars, none of them have slicks. So I thought that was interesting that this particular one had slicks on them. For all my model cars, I don't leave them in the boxes because I display them in all my cases. So this one's gonna go probably in this area right here. I'm going to take out the car from the box and then get a few pictures of it so you can see some of the details. Now that I got the car out of the box, we can focus on the details of this model car. It really resembles the actual car. That's why I go with Jada Toys. Even the materials that they use, to me, it's the best quality. So what I'm gonna do now is rearrange some of my JDM cars. I plan on probably taking the Nissan 350Z from here and bringing it up there. And then taking my new 370Z and bringing it in this area. So I have my 240SX, 350Z, and now my 400Z. So now this is the setup in my JDM car case. I brought the 350Z up there, and now the new 400Z is down here. On the next episode, it's going to be mainly on my M5. It's finally going to go into the shop and get some work done to it. So when I get there, I'll talk more about the details. So that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you on the next one. Wow.